All right, so welcome back to Deliberate Coding. In today's video, we're going to do the Express authentication with Firebase, and the front end, we're going to use React. So this video is just for someone who want to build your own backend with your own DB. So if you know that we're using Firebase, we come up with the Cloud Firestore, so then you don't need to write any backend code. But in case if you want to write your backend code, but you don't want to build your authentication, so here this video is gonna show you how you can use the Firebase authentication for your backend. So let's see how we can do it. So let's in this case, our front end, I'm gonna use React, and our authentications we're gonna use with Firebase, and this is our Express apps. So first, you're gonna do normal authentication on the front end to your Firebase. And then after that, Firebase is going to send you after your authentication, you will get the user object that is include the JOT, the JSON Web Tokens inside it. So, and after that, you can use that JOT to make requests to your Express API, plus that JOT. And then Express will take that JOT and verify it with Firebase. So and after that, Firebase is going to send us a result whether this JOT is valid or not. And if it's valid, you can send the data back to the user. If it's not, you just don't want to, let's say, ignore the request from the front end. So, and that's it. That's how you can use the Express Firebase as your authentication. So let's see how we can do it in code. All right, so here I'm using VS Code, so you can use any ticket that you want. And at the moment, I just have the folder called client. And this is just the boilerplate from Create React Apps. So, and at the moment, it's just this showing this one. And so this is the step that we're going to do in this video. First, we're going to do authentication on the front end. And then we're going to build a really simple backend code. And then we're going to make requests from front end to the backend using the JOT that we come from the Firebase. All right, so first we're going to do that. So you need to make sure first you need to create the Firebase project. So if you have not yet, so please go ahead and do that. So in this case, I have already done that. And I'm gonna go into project settings, and then we're gonna go into the choosing this one. So we want to use for web applications. And then we give our app's name. I want to do just the auth, so you can do this whatever you want. We don't want to do any hostings. And then we're gonna register our apps. It might take a while. All right, so after that, you will see this one. So you can copy this one, and so I'm gonna copy this, and then we're gonna continue to consoles. And also you can find it right here as well, in case if you don't see it. All right, cool. So you need to copy this one. All right, so back into VS Code. So I'm going to create a folder called config right here. So we're going to put our configuration for our Firebase. I'm going to call Firebase Config.js, and I'm going to paste this one right here. And I'm going to change this one to cons. And then I have already installed 2 packages, so you need to do that as well. So the first one is going to be Firebase, and the second one is Axios. So this one is we're going to use this one to fetch the data from our backend. But for now, we just using the Firebase. So this is later on when we build our backend, we're going to use this one. So make sure that you need to install this 2 dependency. All right, so and then I can do the import right here, Firebase. Import Firebase, not like this one. Import Firebase from Firebase. And then we can initialize it, so we can go into the index.js. So I'm gonna, and then I can do just config in Firebase config, and that's pretty much it. So I'm gonna put this one on top right here, and then we're going to go back in here. We refresh. We could see this one is we can import, but let's say this is not the best way to actually initialize it. And for this error, I'm not sure why I have this error as well. When I'm using on Chrome, this is not happening, but if this is just fine. In this case, because we import like the Firebase itself, so because it's actually really huge. So what we want is to just using what we want to use in this case. Just this is the best way to actually import what you want to use, Firebase apps. And then this one we want to use the Firebase analytics, so we can do just import Firebase/analytic right here. And then the warning would be go away. If you refresh back, the warning is gone away. This error, like I told you, I don't know why it's happening in this place as well. So right now we're gonna ignore this one. All right, so this is the right way that you do import the Firebase. So now I'm going to cleanse our apps a little bit. So we not focus too much on the UI. In this case, I'm gonna go back into the apps.js. I'm gonna remove this one right here. So we don't need the logo. So, and then I can remove this one. And then for this one, I don't want to use it as well. Go back index.js. I can remove this one and this one. And also the index.css, so I don't want it as well. So I'm gonna remove this one. All right, we hit save, and then I'm gonna change this one just to the button for logins. Let's say logins with Google. So we're gonna go with the Google Authentications. And right now we go back, if I refresh, so there you go. So you can see, it's maybe you may not see it clearly. So there you go. So this is our login with Google. All right, so then we're going to handle the clicks button right here. So let's say I'm gonna call this one login with Google. So this one we're gonna do the Google Authentications. So let's say I'm gonna create a function on top right here, login with Google. And then we can do the Firebase. So I can do import Firebase from Firebase apps. And then we want to go with the authentication. So I'm going to do Firebase/auth right here. All right. And then what we can do is just do Firebase.auth, not apps.auth.sign-ins with pop-ups. So we're going to do sign in with pop-ups. So we're going to do the Firebase Google provider right here. We're going to new Firebase.auth.Google provider right here. So there you go. And then you can do .then, and then this one is going to have the user credentials, user cred. I'm going to call this one, and we can just console.logs. So let's say I'm going to call this one, and there you go. I'm going to call this one a user credential. All right, so that's pretty much it. So for our login with Google, and also one thing that you need to do, you need to go to authentication part right here and click on get started. So in this one, it's going to show you the list of what you can do. So what we're interested in is Google right here. If you want to go with GitHub or anything, you can explore more. And we can click right here, and then we do enable, and then we choose our email that we are using. I'm going to hit save. So this is the email that I'm using. It might take a while. All right, so after enable, so you can be able to actually log in with this one. So right now, if we click on login, it's gonna do the pop-ups. So it's gonna a little bit slow for me. And then this one, so you can choose, I'm gonna click login with this one. And then it's gonna return back to you, and then we can have the console.log right here. So as you can see, this is we have the credential, that's what we want. And this is the user. As you can see right here, we have the token right here. This is the token that I'm talking about, like the jot of this user. All right, great. So right now we have the tokens. So we need to update that tokens. I think what we don't want is we may like update the after they log in. So we want to switch this one right here to the, let's say we're gonna have let's say this one is gonna be an each one of to-dos and a back end, and then in here I'm gonna create a state for this one, auth set auth equal to use state, and then it's gonna be false. So let's see, so we can do, let's say if auth, if it's true, so we're gonna render this one. If it's false, so we're gonna do this, render this one. And then for the user credential right here, one thing that I can do if the user cred right here, and then we're gonna set the auth to true, and then that's pretty much it. And yeah, so right now I'm gonna hit refresh this one. I'll click login again. click sign in. So it's gonna go back, we set update, it's gonna switch to to-dos right here, perfect. But if I refresh right here, it's not, the user may not stay logged in. So for that, we're gonna use the use effects right here. I'm gonna put everything inside this one. So for now, in this tutorial, we not focus too much on the best practice of this one, but we just focus on the functionality. So, all right, so I'm gonna do use effects. And then we can do, let's say, Firebase.auth right here. .on, I think this one should be on .auth. .on state chain, yes. And then we're gonna have the user credentials. And then we can just console.log this one as well. All right, so right now, if you can see, there we go. So we have all of the user credential that we want, and that's it. So we can check the same thing for this one. So we can do if this one, and then we're gonna set this one to true. So if we refresh, it might take a while because this one is gonna be asynchronous. So the reason that we because this one is run after the component got built. So first, because of the use state, this one is false, and that's why it's gonna run to do. So it's gonna build this component first, and after that, it's going to running this one, running the auth running the use effect right here. Then we update the state. That's why we just see this one, the login first. So later on, after we finish everything, so I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna change the update on that one. So we don't want to see that, right? So we want to actually, if you log in, you can just see to do right away. Okay, so now everything is it's good, and we want to get a credential from this user. So we can just do user dot get token ID right here, and this is going to be the asynchronous way. So we can do dot then. And then we can do we can get the result from this one is going to be tokens, and then we can just console.log the token this one as well. So let's say tokens. Okay. Ooh, there we go. So I don't know, I don't see why token. So it's not a function. All right. So get token result, I guess. All right, so let's see, why is that? That is weird. Oh, okay, so this should be dent, but I just putting like the dot right here. So in this case, we just want the token, so we don't want to get a result. So I can just do the tokens. So there you go. So right now we got the whole token right here. So we want to store this token as well. So let's see. So I'm gonna create this one, create the tokens on the global right here, set token equal to use state tokens. And actually this is empty, and then we just set the token right here. Set tokens with the token that we have. That's pretty much it. So if we refresh this one, and then if you go into the components, and go to app. So as you can see right now, we have our state, we have this token, so we can pass this one to the props, and then we can make requests to this one to our backend. All right, that is pretty much it. So for now, I'm going to this case. So as you can see, when we refresh, we see the button a little bit. So for that, we can use this one. We can do window.local storage set items auth to true. So if we have the value, we're gonna do true like this one. So we can read this one, or let's say I'm gonna do window.local storage get items. Let's say let's get items of the auth here, and then this one is gonna be equal to true because it's a string. So we can do the true right here. So right now, if we refresh, we see the to do immediately. So there you go. So you can see that. And also we want to do this happen when we set this one as well. All right. So I guess, so right now when we, this one is the user is actually authenticate. All right, perfect. So right now everything is done. So I'm gonna create a component for this one. I'm gonna call this one list of to do, and then I'm gonna pass the token to this one. And then we do not have anything yet, so I'm gonna create a component. But this is I'm gonna call this one list of to do.js, and then we can destructure from this one. It's gonna have a token, and then we're gonna do h1 list of to do. Okay, so this is we going to get the list of to do from our backend, from our Express apps. So I'm going to do this a little bit. Okay, great. So so far everything is great. We see the list of to do, and we are done with authentication on the front end. All right, so in this part, we're gonna build our simple backend. So first, I'm gonna close this folder right here. I'm gonna open the terminal. So, and right now, I am in this one. So I'm gonna do the npms init-y, so we can init our package.json. And then we're going to install some dependency. The first one is we're gonna add the Express. So we're gonna use Express for this one. And also we're gonna do the Firebase admin as well. So so then we can initialize the Firebase inside our Express apps. All right, so after that, then I'm gonna install one more dependency is nodemon. So then whatever chain into our Express, so it's gonna reload. So it's gonna be nodemon as a dev dependency. Okay, perfect. So right now I'm going to create a folder called source. So this is our server, and inside here we're gonna have the configs. So the config folder right here is going to I'm gonna put the Firebase inside that one, and then this is gonna be server.js. Okay, and then the package.json, I'm gonna remove this script right here. So I'm going to add this one is going to be the dev, and then we're gonna do the nodemon server source server.js. So because we put that in the source folder, and that's pretty much it. And for the start server, if you want to do for the development for production, you can just do this start, and instead of nodemon, we can just do node. Okay, so this one is going to be really simple. Count express is going to be equal to, I'm going to require express right here, and then we're going to have our apps is going to be equal to express. Oops. And then I'm going to create the port is going to be equal to 5000, and then apps.get. So, and then for now we just do the hello world and return rest.send hello world, and then apps.listen on port, and then we can just do the console.log server is running on port, and then we can put our port right here. Okay, so that's pretty much it for this our server. So then I can do the yarn run dev. So this is we're going to start our server on port 5000, and if we go back in here, so we can go to localhost 5000, and then there you go. So as you can see right now, we see our hello world. All right, so next, rather than display the hello world right here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this one to API instead. So I'm going to say, let's say /API/to-do. So we're going to return the JSONs. So let's say rest.json, and then we're going to return the JSONs right here is going to be to-dos, and we have a list array right here. It's going to be the title is going to be, let's say, task1. I'm going to do task1, and I'm copy this one 3 times, task2, and then task3. Okay, task2, and this one is going to be task3. So this is going to be really simple. So you can go to local 5000 API/to-do, and you will be able to see this JSON right here. Okay, perfect. So the next thing is what I wanted to do. I want to get the front end to actually query this one. So all right, so let's see how we can do that. So right now we are finished with our build of a simple backend, and we are not going to do any authentication just yet. So all right, so I'm gonna close this one right here. All right, first we have the terminal. Okay, I don't know why I cannot close it. Okay, so let's go back into our client and let's go into our list of to-do. So the list of to-do right here is going to fetch the to-do from our server API right here. So for that, we're going to do use effects right here. And then what we can do is I'm going to create a functions right here, con fetch data. Fetch data is going to be equal to this one. And then what we can do is to using Axios. So, and I have already I'll install this one, Axios, from Axios. And then we can do Axios.get request from the HTTP / this one, localhost 5000. Actually 5000, and then it's going to be API / to do. Okay, and then we're going to do a single await right here, await, and then we're going to have the result from this one, and then we can just console.log the result, the rest of data. Okay, and then we're going to call this fetch right here inside our use effects. Perfect. Oh, oops, not this one. All right, so let's see where, oh, okay, this is the one that the place that we should call. Okay. So right now we're going back into this one and we go into our front end. So if I were refreshing this one, this should make a request, but right now it's because of a court policy, so it's being blocked. So we can do that by going to our server. So we're gonna install one dependency. So for now, I'm gonna close the server, and then I'm gonna add one more dependency. All right, I'm gonna do yarn add course. And after that, so you can do cons course is going to be requires course, and it's going to be really simple. So you can do just apps.use course right here. Okay, so after that done, we can run our server back, yarn run dev. Right now our server is running, so I'm going to close this one right here. So go back in here. If we refreshing this one right now, as you can see right now, we have the 3 array right here. We have task 1, task 2, and task 3. So all right, so it's great. So far it's okay, but what we want is to, let's say we want to protect this one, right? So we want to authenticate user to be able to fetch this data. So right now anyone can actually go into our localhost 5000 and fetch this data, and this is not what we want. So to do that, we need to passing the so as you can see, we have this token right here, right? So what we want is to pass this token when we fetching this one. So for that, we're going to passing the headers. So I'm going to go with the headers right here, and then the header is going to be passing the authorizations. So it's going to be the authorize. So let's this one is going to be authorizations, and then with the bearer, we're going to do the bearer right here, and then it's going to be plus the token value, so the token that we have. Great. So and then this one is need to choosing the passing the token as well. So instead I'm going to pass the token as the parameter to this one. So let's see if this one, and then also this is going to put a token right here. So this one, it means that, so right now, if we go back into this one, as you can see, we actually been called 2 times. So why is that? Why it's being called 2 times? Well, first, the token is empty when we passing from the app.js right here. The token is empty, and then it's actually going to run, and then the next thing is token is changing, and then it will run again. So that's why we pass the token to this array. So it means that whenever the token changes, we're going to call this one. So that's why it's been called 2 times. So what I'm going to do is actually check if tokens, if it's valid, if it has some value token, and then we're going to call this one. So right now, if we go back, as you can see, right now we have only one request right here. But right now we are not doing any validation yet. So all right, so to do that, we come back here into our Express. So inside the config right here, I can create a Firebase config.js. So this config right here, it is for our backend. And then I can go into the Firebase projects. So you can go in here and then go to project settings, and then you can choose the service account. And then after that, it's gonna generate this one for you. And then since we're using with Node, so I'm gonna copy this one. All right, so this one is going to change this one to cons, and then I'm gonna do the modules.export is gonna be equal to admin. So we're gonna export this one, and also we need the pass for this one right here. So you need to download this one to generate new private key. So which I have already done that. So I'm gonna import this one real quick. So here we go. There you go. And this one is, I'm gonna close this one. I'm gonna rename this one to the service account. Let's say service accounts. All right, so I'm gonna close this one, and then require right here, so we can do just the. Okay, so my bad. I'm changing the wrong name. So this is gonna be Firebase Config, and this instead should be the service account. This service account. Service account. Okay, I'm gonna close this one, and this one we can do the service account right here. Perfect. So the service account right here, it needs to be protected. So initially, if you have the public folder, the public repo on GitHub, so I think it's not a good idea to actually expose this one. So you can see we have the key right here. So, and it should be, let's say, ignore if you're using with GitHub, so it should ignore this one, or and then you can just add that directly when you deploy it to your so let's say to your cloud. So this one needs to be protected. Okay, so right now we initialize our admins. So the next thing is we need to be able to read the tokens right here, the token from our front end right here. All right, so to read that header, so we can just do console.logs. So console.logs request.headers, and that's the value of that one. So I'm going to go back into here. So right now, as you can see, right now we can see the tokens. So go back in here. If I were refreshing this one, I make request to our backend, and this one is the header. Right now we can see that we have the authorizations that we've been passed with the bearer and the tokens. So this one is, I make a mistake that this bearer right here should have a space. So right now, if I were to refresh again, it should be separate this one. Perfect. So then we can just extract the token, this one, and then we can do the validations. Okay, so right now go back to the server.js. So we don't want to do the validation right here. So we want to do the validation for entire route. So for that, I'm going to create the middleware for it. So I'm going to go to this functions, not function folder, create another folder called middleware. And then I'm going to do index.js. I'm going to create a class called middleware. And then we're going to be asyncs and then decode, let's say decode tokens. Inside our decode token right here, it says just a middleware, so we can have access to request, rest, and next. And then inside here, we can do, let's say, request.header right here. All right, so we're gonna do const tokens. It's gonna be request.headers. So it's gonna be headers, and then it's gonna be dot authorizations. So which is this property right here, if you can see the authorizations. And then for this one, we can do this split. So because it is a string, so we can split this one, and then we're gonna get the index 1. So as you can see, we have the space between that. So the first one is gonna be bearer, and the index 1 is gonna be the token right here. Perfect. So to validate this one, what you can see is, or what you can do is gonna be const decode value. Let's say decode value is going to be equal to admins. So I'm going to import the admin that we just create. So it's going to be const admins equal to require. So it's going to be going to the folder, go to config, and then go into the config Firebase config, and then we can do admin. Now we can do .auth, and then we can do verify token, and then we can pass the token that we have right here. And then we can check if the decode value, if there's a decode value. So it's like if we have a value. So, and then we're going to do next. Else, we're going to do return next right here. Else, we can just do return rest.json. Let's say, and also, all right, so I'm going to close this one. So, and then we're going to do, let's say the message of this one is going to be unauthorized. Yeah, unauthorized. And also for this one, I'm going to do the try and catch for this one as well. So we can do try. All right, okay. Try, and then we're going to do catch, and then we have the errors, and we should do, let's say, return rest.json. Let's say the message right here if it's going to be internal error. Perfect. So right now we have this middleware, so we need to use this one. So we're going to do modules. .export is going to be equal to new middleware. So instead of exporting this class, we just export the object of this middleware. So going back into our server, we can use this one. So instead of this one using for the particular route, so I'm going to use for the global route. So for that, we can use the apps.use, and then we can do the middleware, and then we can do the middleware dot, let's say, okay. Let's see, so we can do this one, and then this one should be middleware.decode tokens right here. There you go. So right now, whenever we make a request, it's going to go into this token. It's going to check, validate this one. So for now, I'm going to say, let's say console.log the decode value when after we being decode. Okay, so right now, everything, as you can see, everything is empty. Inside our server. Good. So I'm gonna make a request right here, and then if you can see, we have the promise. Okay, the reason is because this one is need to be asynchronous. I'm gonna do that again. So I'm gonna refresh this one. Right now, as you can see, we have the decode the value. So this is the value that being decoded, so which is the correct value. So, and that's why we're gonna go next, and then we get the data. So let's say I'm gonna pass the token that is invalid. So for this token right here, let's say I'm gonna change this token to, let's say hello world right here. Okay, so this is I'm just making this wrong, so this is gonna be okay. We will change this later on. So right now, if I were to hit the request, we have the internal error right here. And then because the reason is that because it's being blocked, because the token is invalid, and then it's going to have some error right here. So you can console.log the error right here as well. All right, let's see. I'm going to fetch this one again. And there you go. So right now we have the error right here because let's say that the token that being passed is invalid. It's not a JWT string. So this is not correct. So I'm going to remove this one back. And then for this one, we can just using our token back. Okay. I think that is pretty much that is pretty much it for this one. All right, so I think that's pretty much it for this video. And to wrap up is, as you can see right now, as we're using the global middleware. So if you create any route, it will doing the validation first. So it's going to check that is the token that being passed from the front end is actually correct or not. So that we have the decode value right here. So if you want, let's say, if you want to see actually who actually being request from this one, so you can send that decode value to our controller. Let's say I'm going to do request dot, let's say user, request user, or we can do request that user is going to be equal to decode value, and then we can access this one. So let's say with our API or right here, so I can just console.logs request that user. request.user. Okay, so right now, whenever I make a request right here, so I make a request, and as you can see right here, so we have the request.user with the information that being decoded from the JSON web token. So we got the username, and then we got the UUID. So you can use this one to actually let's say store this one inside your database as your front as your Postgres or MongoDB with using Express. All right, so that's pretty much it for this video, and I hope you learned something from this one. And if there are any problems, you can just go into comments and you also join the Discord server. If you can ask me question there, and you can get this code from my GitHub as well. All right, so I think that's it for this. Thank you guys for watching until the end. Hope you guys having a good day. All right, see you guys in the next video. Peace.